All right, hit us with the music. I want to hear it. Dang, have fun. Good evening and welcome back to another edition of Beyond the Backstage Pass. I am your host, Vince Edwards. You may know me from Sound Image Productions. I also have a couple close roadie groups on Facebook, one called The Backstage Pass and another one called Death by Letter. You have joined us on a very special night. As you know, I've had shows where my good friend, Bernie Broderick, the loudspeaker design legend, has filled in many times. We have a really great program note. Next week, we're having the amazing Lauren White, front of house for Lionel Richie and millions of others. Amazing and wonderful, sweet man we've known for years. And my wife, great Jackie Canterbury, was a guest host on that show. We put it in the can because he was in town for one day doing some work with us, and it was lovely. We're going to show that next week. But this week, we have the one and only, my dear good friend, back from tour, Kyle Thomas. How are you, brother?
Fucking great to see you, Vinny.
Little brother, it is so nice to see you. I have missed you. Now, of course, I have fun with Burn and all that, but you got the special flavor you bring to this thing.
Appreciate you.
It's really nice to see you. And Burn says hi. He's ever building something in his lab over there.
I know. I gotta go say hi, pick his brain.
Make sure you stop in before you leave because he's got love for you. And he literally is. He's doing some on his CNC machine, making some new crazy Bernie thing.
Of course he is.
So more power to him. How was your tour? How was time? You've been gone for almost 4 months.
Yeah, I floated around. I left, I think, prepping for Lumineers, and then went to Usher for a little bit.
That's right.
Then transitioned over and was SEing for Brian Wilson tour for this past couple of months here.
They had him. I was looking at the tour schedules, and he was doing some shows.
Oh yeah, it was great.
I mean, he was back to back to back, and you were really busy out there.
Yeah, we had a couple of stints off. I think there was a few 3 in a rows, but other than that, it wasn't too bad.
Right on. Well, his old pro, that's literally one of the most creative and talented guys in rock and roll history. And, I hope he went out and had that last good hurrah, because I know that's kind of what was going on there. And one of the guys responsible for one of the some of the best recorded music in the world. Pet Sounds, many people would say, is the best recorded album of all time in history. And that shit's 50 years old. So that was a guy you were just touring with. Hope you had fun.
Yeah, it was really fun. I've always been a big fan, and just through my knowledge of Pet Sounds in particular, and then God Only Knows, and there's so many good songs that they've done and released, and there's been many iterations of them.
That's right.
It was fun to have Blondie Chaplin out and have that whole side of it.
Yeah, very cool.
But it was a lot of fun. The crew was really good, made it awesome. Mark St. Louis and the rest of the guys were really helpful. Clint Blar was at front of house. Matthew Minnick was doing monitors.
Yeah, mentioned. That's a pretty solid crew right there.
Yeah. I had Bowie out doing monitor tech. He was out with me with John Legend.
No kidding. Oh, yeah.
So it was definitely awesome.
Well, man, I'm glad. You couldn't think of a better guy to be out there making good things happen, and that's a hell of a good crew. So right on. I'm glad you got to get to experience that, do that good stuff. And I know you have some stuff coming up in the future. What does the future hold for you? You're going to be sitting there next week, or am I going to put Bernie back there?
I might be around. We'll see.
All right.
I'm trying to take a little bit of time and hang out at the shop for a bit.
Sure.
But it's been a really busy. I mean, like everything, it's just picked right back up work-wise. So.
Oh, yeah. Of course, as most of us know, I was talking to the guests before, the show started. Everybody's booked solid. Gear is all. I was driving my little goat cart under our pallet racking because there's no cases, there's no, you know what I mean?
I see that.
That was just like shooting straight across the building. Not something I can do usually. So, you have to zigzag around this place. There's so much going on. But we're having full-on
pit fights over XLR. And
exactly. Ed's gotten real popular around here. They just say that breakouts are a real premium.
Yeah, so we were out with the Digico SD5 at front of house.
Yeah.
And a little SD10. And, of course, this AHA thing comes up for Oxbow River Stage. They're going to be playing up in Napa.
That's right.
And I'm monitor teching another SD5. So look at it coming out several years later, still the same desk.
Well, it's funny. I know a lot of times we got guys that do a lot of things here, and I know you can jump around pretty much board to board, but I always think of you as a Digico guy anyways. You know, it just, historically, you came here to us that way and had a lot of history, so it makes good sense that we're going to have a Digico working happen out there, that you're behind it. And I think we got some S6Ls going out. I think Brad Maddox is going to be doing some stuff with us and some other folks. Yeah, it's been a... Then we got Erica Badu. We've had some pretty great things going on, and this whole week we had this massive jazz festival thing going on. So, and I think that will go into next week. So, the company's super busy, and we're playing with some fun gear, and you know, it's a really good problem when I can bitch about that we don't have enough ed, or we don't, which we never don't have not enough. We're just really stretching it. That's all. You know, we're pretty good here about keeping up on.
Making it work and
and when we
pulling in
need
some money.
something, just building our own, just bringing it in and big spools of stuff and making stuff happen. Our boss, you know, George is good that way, so he's very mindful of these types of expenditures and keeping us on the top. But
and it's nice. One of the big things about this company is that everything always works when we go out. Like XLRs are always, you know, at a premium right now, obviously because it's so busy. But even the bottom of the barrel ones work.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I was doing something last week, and we had about half of the XLR out, and I was looking, and it's so deep. And I was by myself. It's like 9:30 at night in here, you know, and I had wrapped everybody out of the building. And I thought, you know, that back shit rarely gets used except for in that deep part of the season. So I pulled it all forward, knowing that 2 shows were going to be returned the next day, and it would all get pushed.
Rotated.
Yeah, so, you know, it'd get a little action, you know what I mean? Instead of this shit going right back into the front of the pile. And so, you know, just a little first in, first out kind of thing. Try to get a little more even share of the work, kind of let all those cables get a little signal through them and get that good tingle, you know what I mean?
I got the rotated cable, I think.
It's probably a totally fucking stupid point, but to me it made sense. It's like, this shit isn't getting used enough, you know.
Now you know what Vince does at 9 at night.
Yeah, amongst many things, cleaning up after you bastards, making this thing work. You know, you guys have no idea. So when you come in to make shows happen here, we're in here until 9:30, making sure the internet works till 2 nights ago here. You know what I mean? And so in the morning when we came in, this whole place can operate because the internet goes down. I got no inventory control. I got no reservation systems. It's completely So
all the fun stuff you want to deal with.
Yeah, right? And that's not what you get paid for. You get paid to come in and build a show and make shit happen. I get paid to make sure you can do that.
Valid. Got to be a handshake.
Sometimes takes a little longer. Sometimes the hours are a little more involved. And
I'll be here for a little bit. I think.
You're a badass. You've never been afraid to put in the work. I'll give you that for sure, brother.
So you say S6Ls. I heard you were hanging with Greg Price earlier this week.
All right, so you know
what are you doing hanging out with Greg Price without me?
You know I love me some Greg Price.
I do too, man.
Okay, I know, and he got love for you. You worry sometimes, but he really does. You know, and you know he's fresh off Metallica, and he's all like bushy haired and blonde. You know, fucking Greg Price has got down. So we and Mikey were doing some stuff with him in here. We were programming some boards for the whole day, and it was just lovely. I haven't got to see him for, you know, he shares space here in our shop. Brad Maddox and some other hotshots. We're very lucky, but they've been out doing these big, long, you know, European and national tours, international tours, and so it was nice just to get to hang with the old man, you know,
totally.
Pick his brain, annoy him with my playlist, you know, the music we're playing over the house system. I had the '70s songwriter shit on. He's like, "This is the worst shit ever," and then like the next minute, I love this song. It's so fucking bipolar. I love that guy. He's one of my favorite people in the world.
You talking about Brad? I got a good Brad story when I was out with Usher originally. We did a show, a festival, Lovers and Friends festival out in Vegas.
Yeah.
I'm staying at the Platinum Hotel, and I go to get food pretty late at night one night, and I'm like, that's fucking Brad Maddox, I swear to God. He was like walking down the street or something, and didn't really think anything of it. It didn't bug him or anything. I was pretty tired. Go to bed, wake up in the morning, I'm sitting in the SUV about to go, you know, out for the day.
Yeah.
To the venue, and I'm like, there's Brad again, smoking a cigarette. So I text him, I'm like, either you're fucking doppelgangers here or you're staying at the same hotel. And he's like, yeah, I'm here. You should go say hi. I'm doing the Billboard Awards or something like that.
I love that you said that Brad Maddox was smoking a cigarette.
Oh, I didn't say that.
That's a secret, bro. If his wife is watching this, she is not. But yeah, Brad Maddox of Rush and Def Leppard and
smoke.
Van Halen.
I didn't say that.
You know, Brad Maddox, that guy, the guy's office goes over there. You guys saw each other in Vegas, just like, is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, it was just a funny run-in, you know.
See,
Sorry, Brad,
that's
if I
the
just threw
small
you in
world
there.
shit right there. That's awesome. No, Brad is a very infrequent smoker. He'll have a couple drinks and maybe have a puff out on the back balcony. Nah, he's not a legit smoker, but his wife fully hates it, so it's kind of his little secret,
Great.
And
Sorry, bud.
Greg also doesn't appreciate it. His partner in crime.
Well, just keep on feeding the fucking audience, bud. Jesus.
You are a naughty boy.
I apologize.
You are a naughty boy. Anyways, we got mad love for Brad Maddox and Greg Price.
We do. It's great to see him.
And
And
I
I'm
think,
glad you ran into Greg and got to say hi.
Yeah, and I think Brad's currently getting back to finish up the second leg of Flow and Machine. So Florence and the Machine. So just out murdering it. That's friggin'. Yeah, that's what we all want to grow up and be.
They got to. Flow's going to sound great if Brad's makes sense.
Oh my God. It's like that's a show of shows, really. Between what he's doing and what they can do, it's an alchemy. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
I can imagine.
Yeah. So what else is up, brother?
So shout out to Howie Linderman. Gotta just quickly
Well,
say
Howie
hello.
Linderman, it's a 6-time Grammy Award winner, 24 platinum albums, one of our sweetest guys on the planet, just had the quadruple bypass.
Mm-hmm.
So he's 4 or 5 weeks out of that. It was real rough for him, and just a dear person and a lovely man and a recent guest and somebody who's agreed to come back on because how do you interview a guy with a history like that that's worked in the last 50 years with some of the biggest bands
Yeah,
in
they get a
in
show
music.
too. They have to.
So he's going to come and do part 2, but
That's
we're
awesome.
just rooting for him to feel better, and we're sending him some love.
Gonna say, shout out to Scott Perlman as well. He's been checking in
About
too.
5 months ago, he had a quadruple bypass.
That's true.
This is the quadruple bypass list. That's Scott Perlman.
Yeah, I'm glad Scott's doing well.
Kiss and
fucking
and
such a
friggin'
badass.
Smash Mouth, and he just got done with some Alice in Chains shit in Britain, and and he's like such a heart. That is literally one of my favorite people on the planet.
Yeah, when he came to our shop and I started talking to him, I really enjoyed our conversation.
He's a big
really
bear of a man,
straightforward.
and he is like got a heart the size of a Buick.
Yeah,
He's just
Scott, we love you, brother.
Yeah,
You're
Scott
fucking
Perlman,
awesome.
and he's doing well. He's recovering well from the procedure, and we're happy.
And also, I heard you got COVID, but I apologize.
Buddy, I got COVID after 2 years. I've been doing gigs. I've been doing whatever. We're dealing with all you monkeys. All the stuff that we do, I was able to avoid it for 2 years. Me and my chick are real careful. We keep it real cool and on the down times, and keep it close. And but somehow or another, I've got it, and it's full sucker punch. And went down like this sack of potatoes for a couple of days there. And then last week was real foggy and weird and hot and sweaty, but fucking had to get back once I tested positive, clear. I just came right back to work, and so
I'm glad you're feeling better.
Yeah. First couple of days, I've actually been able to smile and get past it. So yeah, thanks, man.
It's fucking scary stuff, man. Even it's crazy that we're still dealing with it.
I don't think we'll never not be, but that's again one of those subjects we don't talk too much about.
You're right,
At the same time, I wouldn't be surprised that everybody takes a turn. At this point.
Yeah, it's some variant of it or something.
Yeah. It's
I
just
know.
bound to happen.
Blessings. 4 months on the road, not got sick once.
You guys must be doing real good protocol and being mindful and
Keep the bus really cold.
And like you said, some luck.
Yeah, definitely some luck.
Frankly, some luck. So good for them.
Yeah, and I'm like I said, I'm gonna stick around for a little bit. I've definitely had some fun, but I'll try to spend a couple weeks here and see how long it lasts till I get kicked out on something else. But definitely some.
As you
some
know,
things up and running.
however they say, I know mi casa, su casa, but I should say our casa, su casa. Our house is your house, and you kick it as long as you're feeling up to it. And then if you get some real good ride, let me know. Or, you accept one of the ones we got for you. Let us know.
I appreciate you.
But it's always fun having you in the house, man. And it was missed you for a minute. So
Definitely.
Thanks for coming back. And
I tried to
hanging
take
with
some
the kids.
pictures. Maybe I'll try to post some of them from the road, Like Red Rocks, I put one of the stickers up and...
Oh, right on.
Didn't
you
in the
take a batch
hallway.
of swag out of here?
I did. So a lot of the crew, like Mark St. Louis, William Humphrey, Tom Lowry, they all got shirts. They're all great dudes.
Right.
Bunch of dudes out on the road. They were been with them for 15 years,
Yeah, no, it cracks me up because when Scott was over in Czechoslovakia and Romania and Perlman, we were just talking about doing that William Duvall, that Alice in Chains thing. you know, it was cool to see my big stupid face.
Yeah,
all these places
totally.
on the back of his jacket. It was a crack up to me. And then a few other examples of that, you know, Betty and some of the other guys. So yeah, I get a kick out of it. Thanks for being here, man. I appreciate you. I'm really glad you're back and back safe and sound, and many good things coming in the future. Hopefully, the crew will get you some ears so you can hear the interview.
Yeah, I want to hear the fucking guest. You got a good guest tonight, man.
I do. We reached out. We got lucky. It took me a minute to fam bangle him because he's so busy, but we got him in here, and I'm going to talk to him now. Thanks for being here. All right, pal. Hi, guys. We sure appreciate you coming out and doing this with us. Sorry we were a little late. We had some technical difficulties. This whole shop is actually active right now. There is 6 vehicles being loaded for shows that are going to happen this weekend. The 6 that already went out. It's a very active situation. So we're doing our best. I want to tell you, reached out. You know, we've been very lucky with the guests. I got some really great friends, and we've been doing this for a long time, and people are come here and avail themselves and share their experiences. And tonight is just no exception. We reached out to a guy who's had a pretty remarkable career. He's well known for just as a gearhead, one of the guys that, you know, you could talk to about boards and outboard. He's kind of old school down with it. He's one of the best mixers out there, has a long history with Robert Randolph and Robert Rudolph and the Family Band. This is a band, you know, I won't lie and say it's something I listen to every day, but one of the best slide guitarist players in the world, widely accepted as that, certainly in the top 100 of players in the world. And this guy makes for him for years and years. We had the good fortune of recently in a show we were doing with the great Brandi Carlisle. He was out front mixing for her, come and get to work with him. He agreed to come in and share some of his stories with us. Let's get to it right now. It is the one and only Sean Quackenbush, a.k.a. The Quack. How you doing, Big Daddy?
Hey, what's going on? How's everybody doing? What's up, Vince? Good to see you, man.
Man, we are just busy, and it is one of those good problems, and I ain't trying to complain. How about you? I mentioned it in the run-up that we took a minute to get to you because you've been so darn busy. Talk to us about your recent schedule.
Recent schedule. The recent schedule is I've been literally saying that in the last week I did the Roadie Ironman. I did.
Tell us about that. I got to hear what do you consider the Roadie Ironman?
The Roadie Ironman. So like, I spent 3 days in Nashville in the shop prepping. I have an A rig and a B rig.
Yeah.
So I got the A rig dialed in, put that on the truck, sent that to Rhode Island, put the B rig on the other truck, sent that to Chicago. Once I got dialed in, I woke up Thursday morning, flew to Newport with the production manager and our tech. We cross-loaded that into a church for a super secret rehearsal.
Gotcha.
Was there till about 1 a.m. Came in the next day at 9. Did the rehearsal. Packed up. Long rehearsal, like nonstop.
Wow.
Got out of there at midnight. Hour-long drive back to the hotel. 1 a.m. down. 3 a.m. up into the Newport airport. Flew to Chicago. Met the B rig. Mixed the Highwomen at Wrigley Field, opening for Stapleton. Flight delays, the whole runaround that we deal with.
Yes, sir.
They got off stage, got on a plane, flew back to Newport, got in about 1 a.m., 5 a.m. load in at Newport, cleared the deck, got ready for 2 shows. We did Brandi Carlisle. That show at Newport took about a 25-minute break, and then I was the fortunate person that got to mix Joni Mitchell's return to the stage after the
yeah, because I guess she had a thing where she lost her ability to play and to sing and had to relearn these gifts. And you just got to mix that? Is that what you just said to me?
I just mixed that. Yep, that was the front engineer on that. And the press, when I woke up on Monday morning, was like nothing I'd ever seen before. Like, you know, working for artists who win Grammys and stuff like that, you see a little bit of press, but this was like every news outlet I'd ever, you just flip through and it was like, Joni Mitchell returned, Brandi Carlisle, Joni Mitchell. And I mean, it wasn't just them. I mean, we had Marcus Mumford on stage. We had Winona Judd on stage. We had Blake Mills on stage.
Yeah,
we had
who's who.
Lucius. It was just one thing after another. And it was just for being like no sleep, no time to eat and go. It was about the most rewarding, like just being like just at it, like, and your adrenaline was pumping so much by the time you got up on Monday that you were just like, I just can't believe what happened. I mean, the Wrigley show was amazing with the Highwomen, and then then to go into a Brandi Carlisle set that was transcendent, and then all of a sudden to be like to Joni's return to music was amazing. So it was well worth it. And just everybody I knew was like, "Were you there for that?" I was like, "Here's a picture of me sitting behind the desk."
No, and I'm glad that you understand that the weight and the gravity of what you were talking about. First of all, the Highwaymen in its own right is a thing that.
The Highwaymen.
Oh, okay. I was trying to figure out, who would be doing this. I could see Willie, and but you're saying the Highwaymen.
The Highwaymen. It's Brandi Carlisle, Mariners, and Natalie.
Wow.
And it's an all-female country supergroup, kind of in the vein of what the Highwaymen did.
No, I fully understand now, and wow, that must have been phenomenal. I gotta ask you, I back in my day, when I take these, and that is the Iron Man rigmarole you just described, and frankly, not that uncommon, and to be a part of such a pivotal moment in American music, to have Joni Mitchell come back to the table. I mean, when you said that, the hair went up on my arm, because I had been also following the development of that, and that you got to mix that is a very special thing. I'm curious. From one audio guy to another, did you have, or do you ever experience any kind of audio kind of ear fatigue from going at that pace, trying to mix the adrenaline through and away, and to keep a clear head while also having the jet lag, the time changes, the temperature changes, the altitude change? You know what I'm talking about? And you try to flush that all in, and then do mix after mix.
Yeah, I mean, I also have, my whole family suffered from terrible allergies, so you feel like you got pressure on the ear. The cool part is we have a great vocal coach who travels with us a lot, and he'll give you the formula. He's got whether it's specialty lozenges or some sort of like tree oil, and he literally helps you. But I mean, I try to wear my plugs as much as possible on planes. I have my earplugs are like, it's almost like an in-ear monitor.
Yes, sir.
But literally just try to. But you need to trust what you're doing. My allergies were really bad kind of early on in my career, where my station tubes would drain mid-show.
Oh wow!
I was mixing a lot of like Broadway shows and stuff like that, and the tonality of your ear would completely shift and change, and you'd be like, okay, is it right? But it was like all of a sudden the mid-range would open up, or if your allergies swole up, it would become very muddy sounding. But you got to learn to trust your ears. It was spread out enough that I didn't feel like I was fatigued that much. The good part about it is the Highwaymen at Wrigley. I tend to try to mix around like 98 dB peak. Maybe once in a while at 102 with some of the rock tunes.
Sure.
But my whole thing is I want to mix big, not loud. I want it to be big, to give it impact. So it feels loud, but it's not physically loud. 90, I mean, with a Brandi Carlisle show, I go from like, some songs could be like 87, 89. She goes down to a solo acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
But the best part about it was by the time we got to Joni, that crowd just, it was so, there wasn't a dry eye in the winter. And it was and it was such a finesse, delicate mix. And it's insane because we came right out of the roots, live hip hop band, let's
I'm with you. I understand who the roots are. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we go into Brandi Carlisle's show, which has some rockin' tunes. We open up with Broken Horses, which is a straight ahead rock tune.
Yeah.
And then the show is very dynamic in how it moves. It could be quiet, it could be loud, and I don't want to like just squash it all in and have one level, because the fans will follow where you go with the mix.
Yeah.
So by the time we got to Joni, it was great. The Highwaymen, I think we did about a half hour, 45 minutes, and it was good. But I had the time between flying back and, load in was quick. I tuned up a little bit. I got to take a listen to the Joni instruments outdoors. So like all of a sudden it's like, how is this grand piano going to react? On a hollow stage under a tent, and really got a hold of it. It wasn't drums, it was some hand percussion and just acoustics, and I got to get through those. And then I literally put my plugs in for the whole day and let my ears kind of uncompress and open up. So by the time we were ready to go with our stuff, I felt really good about everything, you know.
That is one to put in the record books, to tell the kids about, and hopefully, the one thing I like about that is it's a part of music history, American music history, that some of the young folks today are not. They don't make themselves aware of. They don't seem to have intellectual curiosity about what's gone before. Joni Mitchell is such a critical part of female rock, folk rock, soft rock. I mean, it's just she's hit so many
American
benchmarks.
music.
American music, exactly right, and really, my producer hates when I say this, but talk about a national treasure. So yeah, that's
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
what a great
Yeah.
moment for you.
Yeah.
Let's back up a little bit,
And I have, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, sorry. Go ahead.
Let's back up a little bit. I'm interested in how you got in the game, and how did you choose audio? I'm always curious why not pyro? Why not a lighting guy? How did you get into the industry, and what made it be audio?
I fiddled in everything a little bit. I have super rad parents who nobody's a musician. Nobody. We're all Irish construction workers,
Right on.
union members, the whole thing, entire family. But there was always music in the house. My parents started taking me to concerts from the time I was, I mean, a baby, Beach
Yeah.
Boys in '78 at Saratoga Performing Arts Center. And every summer, mom and dad took you to at least one cool show. So I saw Huey Lewis on the sports tour. I saw Rick Springfield when Jesse's Girl was huge. And then the one that kind of changed it for me, I think I was 8 or 9. Mom took us out to Buffalo Bills Stadium. I saw Michael Jackson on the Victory Tour.
Wow, big show.
That fourth row center, and I said, I want to do this.
I get it.
I don't know what it is, but I just want to do this, because that was in the heyday of like
Big show.
everything was new. Moving lights were new.
That's right.
Video was new. And it just. And I wound up talking, I think, to a security guard at like 8 years old who was standing by us. I said, how long does it take to set this up? And I mean, it was a third of a stadium.
Yeah. The Victory Tour was massive.
It took 2 weeks to set up. It'll be gone in 24 hours. So I've always been really interested in the fact is massive structures that can move like that.
Yeah, pretty impressive.
And honestly, the only other thing I've ever wanted to do in life was I wanted to design amusement and carnival rides, but there was a lot. I thought at the time there was a lot more math involved than what I do now. How was I wrong? But how those structures can just move. So I got obsessed with it all. I just, at 8, 10 years old, started calling, and I got brochures and magazines from companies. And anytime my parents would take me to the local music store, if I had a cousin who played guitar, but I loved music. I was always an avid, I had records from the time I knew how to put one on the Fisher-Price turntable, or the Fisher-Price cassette deck. There was always music around. So I got a little bit older, and I thought I wanted to be lighting, and I got into like middle school, and I started working on the plays, because it was like, there's that stuff. Or like, 7th grade, I got sent to a Catholic school for a while, and one of the music teachers would jam with a couple of the other kids, and one played bass and one played drums, and the teacher played guitar, and they'd jam out on Cream tunes. And I'd be like, can I just hang out and see this? And they let me, and they were showing me. I had an uncle who was a mobile DJ. I'd go along with him because he knew how to play for his age, but every once in a while he'd get booked at a school dance. So eventually my cousin and I kind of started a little mobile DJ production company. But I was telling your guys, right before I got to high school, like we were big into like BMX, and someone who was in the PTA with my mom goes, well, my husband's got a bunch of old BMX parts he'll sell you. So we rode our bikes down to buy all these old BMX parts, and I walked out with a sound system. The other half of his garage was this massive like old Altex and Tapco mixers, and the next thing that BMX money went, and I started just moving in speaker cabinets and phase linears and crown amps, and the bug just bit me there. I got into high school. I found out that worked on the school plays, and the sound company that would come in to do the school plays, there was a kid who was 10 years older than me, graduated 10 years before me, and he owned us. They had just started this sound company called Omnitech.
Oh, sure.
and they had just got the house contract for Saratoga Performing Arts Center, which is like a 28,000 seat outdoor venue. It's legendary. Anybody who tours through goes, oh yeah, play SPAC every summer. And I'll show up. I'll do whatever you want me to do. You want me to push cases? You want me to clean cables? I just want to be there. So pretty much by 13 years old, I was just whatever I could do. The good part about Omnitech is the shop. I'm originally from Albany, New York. The original shop was literally blocks from my house. So I could ride my bike there and I'm be like, I will do whatever you guys want me to.
Wow, that's a great
So I had my little home PA system, and the guy bought the BMX bike, a 50-60 like covered, and they'd play VFW halls and reunions and all that kind of stuff. And he would take me along to help out. And they had a sound guy named Billy, and Ricky figured out, he was the drummer in the band. He figured out, he says, Sean's got a really good ear for this. So, and Billy was just kind of the guy that would drink beer and kind of set the mixer up, He'd put some vocal mics up and he goes, hey, Billy, you want to throw a kick drum mic? He goes, no. Okay, no problem. So eventually the rest of the band caught wind of this and they'd be like, hey, Billy, come over here and help me, like during the show. And when Billy would walk away, I'd go over to the mixer and fix it. He'd come back. Man, this sounds great, doesn't it? I go, Billy, you're doing a great job, man.
Yeah, sometimes the politics of how we come up. Yeah, right on.
I mean, I learned that at like 14, you know, and I thought I wanted to do lights, but I found out lights were big and heavy and required a lot of power.
A lot of copper.
Yeah. At one point I had gotten a sponsor back when Very Light was a thing and you had to be like sponsored to go to VL school and all that.
Right.
I thought about doing that, but I was just like, this audio thing, I just love it's never 100% sure. And it's always, there's something, whether it's temperature or a problem or
always a variable.
There's a lot of problem solving, which I love. And just sound. And it just, when I could listen to things, even as a kid, if I put a record on and it could be any great mixed record, I could literally focus in on one thing. And it's like, what is the bass guitar doing right now?
Yeah.
And I could take apart mixes in my head as a kid and it just all made sense. It's one of those things like when I sat behind a real mixer for the first time, no one had to explain it to me. It literally just, I knew how to do it.
Yeah.
Whether or not it was proper or not, it made sense. And I knew how to push things to make it sound. Now, that being said, I mean, being in high school and I had my sound system, I remember the first time I mixed a Battle of the Bands, I figured out if you turn the mid-range all the way down on every channel, it won't feed back,
Yeah, it's one way to keep yourself out of trouble.
Yeah, and it slowly came and people taught me and the guys at Omnitech really, and I got run up the ladder real quick. So I kind of did my first tour when I was like 15. I was mom and dad let me get in a van with a bunch of kids who kind of had a pop punk band, and our first show was at CBGB's. I was 15. Wow. I had a pretty good grasp on my shoulder by that point, and then it was like I tried college for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I was just like, it's like, you could go to school to be a studio engineer, which honestly had no interest. I wanted to be a live guy, or a live engineer. Or live mixer. And the cool thing was my senior year, I got to go to a theater school, like FAME.
Uh-huh.
I was one of 3 tech kids involved. So it was like, after the first couple of weeks, I was almost treated like one of the house crew people. And that's what I did for my senior year of high school. And then college, they wanted to stick me in more theater program. And I was like, I just spent 2 years in an intense theater program. Let me try something else. So I tried some music classes, I tried some art classes, but the sound company, my beeper, gonna date myself, my beeper would go off and they'd be like, hey, can you do a gig today? And I'd be like, yeah, done. So it'd be the Troy Savings Bank Music Hall, or I'd be at the arena, or where they had gigs, and I just would show up. So after a while, my parents they loved it. So they were like, he's good at it. Just let him go do it. My dad's only requisite was, is there a union? I said, well, there's the IATSE, the stagehands union. And he's like, yeah, fine, just go do it. And now they couldn't be happier. They just think it's the coolest thing in the world,
Yeah, they're not wrong. Let me ask you about, you were out with the phenomenon known as Experience Hendrix.
Yeah, I did that for about 10 years.
Yeah, and people that don't do in front of house, I believe. And I know you worked with Winston Dama. He mentioned this to me. Do you remember Winston Dama?
Oh yeah, I know Winston. Yeah, Winston's a great dude. Yeah.
Yeah. He's in the house right. He's on the other side of the building right now, working on that Anya system, putting that together.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, good guy.
Yeah.
He wanted me to say hi, but I know about that. That basically, if I'm not wrong, was basically kind of a revisit the Hendrix experience type thing with a bunch of hot shots like Vernon Reid or Kenny Wayne Shepherd or Brad Whitford. Is this now? Were all these like guitar legends on the stage at the same time emoting Hendrix, and you were trying to keep that in check? I mean, what is the dynamics to how to deal with that much guitar badassery in one? That I imagine that as an engineer had to present a couple interesting challenges. Do you have any 4x12 issues? Have to put up the baffle of shame. People turning up on stage after sound check type things.
It's funny you mentioned Vernon, because Vernon was the first one. Like the producer of the tour would come to me and he's like, "Hey man, you got to turn the show down." And I'm like, "Oh, I can't really turn the show down. I'm literally just bringing vocals, drums, and bass up around guitar amps."
Yeah.
And I kind of had a talk with Vernon because I was kind of close with the Living Color guys, and I've kind of done stuff with them for a long time.
Yeah, great band, amazing band.
One of my favorites,
Yeah.
And Vernon goes, "Do they realize we're playing Hendrix?"
Good point. That's a fair point.
Well, and the funniest part was the drum tech and I, Mike Musburger, who's a dear friend to this day. We just kind of came up with it one night. Like, it was always intense. It was always like 6 in a row. It's a long day because you load in at like 7 or 8. And the joke is it's like Guitar Center on tour because if you take a 50-foot proscenium open, right?
Yeah.
There'll be 2 to 3 drum risers. We had Mitch, God rest his soul, in the beginning, but it would be
Mitch Mitchell.
Yeah, we had Mitch on the first one. We did Mitch was still
Wow.
alive.
Great.
And it would rotate, but we've had up to 3 drummers. So the first one was like Mitch, and then another guy, God rest his soul. I can't think of his name right now, but played for Buddy Guy forever, a sweetheart of a guy. So he'd have his kid, and then Chris Whipper Layton was always kind of the backbone of the drum thing.
Right. Yeah.
And Whipper was great, but then literally we'd have to like turn amps all the way out to the proscenium. We'd have to curve them to fit everybody on stage. I mean, we could have upwards of 17 different guitar players. I think at one night it was like 3 drummers, 4 or 5 bass players, 7 or 8 singers, and like 17 guitar players with everybody from like Hubert Sumner, Eric Johnson, Dweezil Zappa, Satriani, Vi, Vernon Reid, 3 pedal steel players. Not only do we have Robert, but we had Chuck and Derek Campbell, or we had Calvin Cooks out with us, and these old great church players who were just amazing.
Yeah.
You'd have Stu Tedeschi out on some of it, and you'd have, the people that went through this thing when I did it, and it was always a bit of a challenge because
I imagine
you go into these like subscription like houses, like, and you felt bad because all of a sudden, like the for lack of a better term, some of the older ushers would come in. They're like, "Oh, I heard it's a play about a boy named Jimmy," and you're like, and how many times I'd go into these places and I'd look at the house PA and I go, "Somebody better call somebody right now."
Yeah.
Like, "Oh yeah," And the best line I ever had on that was someone, "Hey, this PA works great for comedy," and I'm like, "Are you telling me right now?"
Yeah, there's going to be some laughing and going on in the house here tonight because that ain't going to work.
3 rows of just 412 cabinets on that semi.
Jeez.
And God bless this Mike Ronkin, who did monitors on that, who I love to this day.
Oh God, what a job! What a fucking hard job that must have been.
He had side fills of doom. We used to send out MTs, and it was 2 subs over 2 tops.
Okay.
And he had 24 12 AMs plus these massive side fills. And I'd walk in, and there would be like 4 850s hung and 1 sub aside, and I go, "What do you expect me to do with this?" I got to, and it was great. I had a lot of fun. You learned about tone and everybody's different tone and where to start with. I mean, I'd start the tour where it's like, if you got a 412, you get a 57. And if you got a combo amp, you get a 409 or whatever the modern equivalent is, 906 or whatever.
Sure.
And then throughout the tour, you change out. And it was, you know, it was kind of guerrilla audio because we were still stuck in that 48 channel mentality.
It sounds
which
like
I know,
combat audio to me, buddy.
yeah, you know, it was like there was no 2 kick drum mics. There was maybe no snare bottom. It was, you know.
But back in the day, that was pretty common. You know, like you said, it was the kind of approaching it still from the older analog 48 channel tape. But you know, the part I'm imagining is like is just trying to keep the egos in check. I can imagine it was extremely exciting and fun, but like you said, that monitor guy must have been just working his ass off, you know, and it just amazing.
And there was never an ego on that tour. You know, you kind of had your day planned out because the thing about it was is they would rehearse. So like if we went in at like 7 or 8,
yeah,
usually by like 9 or 10, we gave the stage to Eric Johnson just to let him do Eric Johnson, because he works on his thing, and that man is a mad scientist. And trust me, I learned more about tone from him than anybody. Like we literally lined up 57s to find the best sounding ones, and like to this day, find the old Unidyne 3 ones. Those are the ones that sound best.
Yeah,
and then you know you would run through the show, so rehearsal would pretty much go up to doors or dinner. You'd get an hour and a half. The show would go, and it was a 3-hour show. And there were points like Red House at the end was usually the closing number, and you'd have a lot of people out there. You know, it would get intense when you'd have 4 pedal steels plus Vernon Reid, 2 drummers, 2 bass players, and maybe Vi would come out, or Satriani would come out. But I mean, there were nights that blew my mind. I mean, the night Sammy Hagar walked out in San Francisco and did
makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Like, once again, you're just like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
The closest I'm going to be to Mix Van Halen, you know.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Chicken foot, you know.
Yeah, no, I'm feeling you. That's pretty great. Those kind of moments just get a big kick out of it. You know, that stuff that only can happen in a live production. You know, and something special, a thing like that, or like doing the Highway Women thing. The guests that come and the different magical little moments. It sounds like you had some really good ones. That takes me kind of to the subject of working with Robert Randolph. One of I think Rolling Stones rated him as one of the top 100 guitarists of all time. I'm not sure if everybody knows who I'm talking about here. Is an African-American gentleman, plays the slide guitar. He smokes. I think he would call his music kind of like a progressive gospel. I'm not sure what label to put on it, other than it's really friggin' good. It's kind of a swaggery kind of swank. I don't know how to,
I call it. I always call them the Jimi Hendrix of the pedal steel. Is the kind of the easiest way to say it, but it's blues, funk, gospel, rock and roll.
There you go.
That's what it is.
And it's really good. Like he brings it in a way that is fully digestible. You fully get it. You can feel it. It's just an extraordinary player. What was it like? I know you spent quite a bit of time out front for those guys.
15 years. And I mean, I was supposed to do 1 6-week tour, and I was there for 15 years. I still talk to him all the time. I mean, I love him.
Yeah.
You know, we're literally a month apart in age, and
extraordinary talent, just extraordinary. Yeah.
It's hilarious. Like, once again, like, you know, working eventually that sound company that I worked for, I wound up becoming one of the partners in. And we did some cool festivals, and we did this thing called the Mayor's Cup up in Plattsburgh, New York. And it'll all come full circle here in a second. But this band shows up late, like they were supposed to be on stage an hour ago, and where's your front of house guy? He ain't here. You're doing it. Okay, great. Mix the show, and that's what I love. I love funk and R&B and that. So, I mean, I was having the time of my life. I was mixing a lot of like metal and hardcore at the time, but this is what I dig. I do that, end of the show, packing up for the night, because we're there for 3 or 4 more nights. Is the Mayor's Cup Festival in Plattsburgh, New York. Get the radio call, go back to the tent. Little timid guy, not the Robert everybody knows now, who's just the life of the party, but he's just sitting there with his laptop, and his manager goes, "Hey man, what'd you do out there tonight?" I go, "Hey man, sorry if it was loud, but I mean, I was digging it." They go, "No, best the band's ever sounded." do you want to go on tour with us? And I went, yeah. But it's not even like, yeah, let's go, right? So we went back and forth for a couple weeks, and they had a guy, but they were like, hey, maybe you come out and do monitors or, whatever. I was like, hey, whatever. I believe in this band. The live record had come out. We were getting ready to put Unclassified out, which was the first major release. But the funniest part is, so a couple weeks, we're trying to figure this out. It's kind of like it is now, like kind of end of July, beginning of August. Dave Matthews comes through SPAC. I'm the house guy there. And they're like family to me, always have been. So I'm out in front of house with Tommy and Jeff, the front of house, the SC, and I'm like, hey guys, I might have this gig on tour. They're like, with who? And I said, this guy, Robert Randolph. And they start laughing uncontrollably.
Why?
And I go, well, what's up? And then I find out, like, the managers still call me every day, like, hey, we're trying to figure this out. And I'm like, all right, and I'm kind of like losing hope, because when you're a local guy, we're like, when we break it, you're our guy. And it's like, how many times have you heard that? And then all of a sudden you see him on MTV. You're like,
right.
Never got a phone call.
Yes.
So they said, well, Robert's been our opening act on and off all summer. But when we were at Alpine Valley, their front of house guy stole a golf cart out of production drunk, picked up a passenger, was cruising around, flipped it, busted his head open, almost killed the girl who was riding with him, gets arrested, charged with DWI in a golf cart, right?
Yeah, that's real. That shit can happen.
They get him dragged off to the prison hospital. The next day, the band takes the bus. And trust me, the engineer's a friend of mine now. He said I could tell this story. They have him, they're arraigned from the hospital via satellite. They said how much it was going to cost to bail him out. It was some absurd amount of money. The band's like, haul ass, we got to go. Let's go. And the gig they showed up to was in Plattsburgh, New York. And to this day, if you ask Robert, like you say, hey, Robert, Sean Quackenbush, he'll go, that's Plattsburgh. That's Plattsburgh. I've been Plattsburgh to that man since the day he met me.
No shit.
Calls me Plattsburgh. But a guy stealing a golf cart, getting drunk and flipping it got me a gig that lasted 15 years. I was supposed to do one 6-week tour, and literally like 15 years I did it. I did. In the middle of it, I took 1 year off to think I could do monitors again. And I just was like, it was after doing, front of house for 13 years to go do monitors for one summer was like, it was great band. I had a great time with them, but I just, you kind of lose that artistic side of your brain you used to do front of house. You know what I mean?
So I don't have to. I wasn't going to ask this question, but so I think I can just assume from that. So you rather be out front than on the side of the house?
I love doing front of house. It's got its own challenges. That Hendrix tour, every time I'd come off of it 6 weeks, I'm like, I need to take 2 weeks off because my ears, like you said, fatigued by the end of it.
Yeah.
Hard cabinets in your face.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. Yeah. No, I get that totally. I've often thought that they were literally just two different people. The job is two different people, two different types, and Brad Maddox is one way, and Maxie Williams is, you know what I mean? It's like
absolutely. And a systems engineer is a completely other job as well, or a monitor tech is a separate. I went out. It's funny you were talking about Brad doing Florence and the Machine right before Brad took that over.
Yeah.
Firehouse sent me out as one of the crew guys on it, and I wound up being like the crew chief, and I loved it. There was no getting dragged in the dressing room going, hey, what happened tonight? It was like, get the stuff in, make sure the crew's moving, make sure no one's standing around. And I rocked it, man. I went out with Narcy and just had a great time just doing that. I was like, well, if I ever want to give up mixing, I like doing this too.
Very professional operation, but it really helps. It's that when it's coming out of the hose that pretty, it really puts you in an easy, sweet spot. And that band is a phenomenal band. Really, truly a phenomenal band. And to have Brad out front making the little white birds fly out of the loudspeakers is there's a great synergy happening there, and sometimes when it's kind of like Pooch out there with Iron Maiden, it's just that's a perfect fit for me. To me, that is or Scoville out with Chesney right now. He's in tall grass right there. That's his sweet spot. So, and that comes to mind with what you did with Brandi Carlisle. I mean, you've had I guess you've been with her a good 6, 7, 8 years now.
I'm coming up on 8 years. This fall it'll be 8 years. And it's funny, I was on that Florence tour, and on a day off, I drove out to Maple Valley outside Seattle, and it was the first time, like, normally, like, when you get hired by a band, you're either kind of replacing somebody or a resume goes around and they're like, hey, we'd love to sit down and meet them. So I literally just, my wife and kid were with me. They went and hid in a park. When I went over and I sat down with them, and I think I was the first person they interviewed, and they're like, yeah, let's go. And that was it. And then I wound up doing their original engineer, who's a friend of mine to this day. I went out on a tour with him, and I kind of PM'd a little bit and kind of helped out and just kind of took the show in and figured it out.
Yeah.
We finished. I was only supposed to stay with him for a week. I think it was like a 3-week run. And after like a week, they're like, yeah, let's send our guy home. And I wound up mixing the show for the rest of it. And I haven't missed a show yet. I think I missed one show, and that was it. I think I was in the middle of we had taken a break and nothing was going on, and I was out with Madish Yahoo, and
yeah, good act.
Popped up in the middle, and the engineer came back and covered it. But like after that, she's like, you have to go everywhere with me. So now it's to the point where it's like, if she sits in with anybody, like, I go out, give her a mic, I stand with the front of house guy, and I'll bring her wedges out, just make sure she can be heard. And, so it's like, I go everywhere. Like, all those TV shows you see her on, when it's the Kennedy Center Honors, or if, she's sitting in with, she sits in with everybody, Mumford and Sons.
Yeah, she seems to make the rounds. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm always I'm just go with her, and Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or whatever. It's funny, pretty much through the last couple of years, we were the In Memoriam band a few times last year. We did Rock and Roll Hall of Fame In Memoriam. We did Grammy In Memoriam, and it was, it's special. Every time she does something, it's special. I've never not known it to be anything less than great. She is honestly the greatest boss. And honestly, it's just not her. When you say Brandi Carlisle, it's actually 3 people. So it's Brandi, Tim, and Phil, the brothers, the twin brothers.
Right.
And it's a three-way thing. And they're honestly the best human beings you've ever been around to be around, because she's perfect at taking you out of your comfort zone and getting the absolute best out of you.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, she's got the 2 greatest cheerleaders in the world who are right there behind you going, we believe in you and we know what you can do. So it's
very nice.
And it's one of those things, like, even if we have issues, she's right up front with me. Hey, Sean, can we do this? Can we do this?
Sure.
What can be done? And it's a real open kind of relationship and really good dialogue. Like, I know that I can knock on her dressing room at any time and go, hey, this is what I'm feeling about this, and this what needs to be. And at the same time, she can come to me and go, you're about to mix Joni Mitchell. And she's like, you got this. And
kick its ass.
Yeah, I mean, literally, we sat down right before we went on stage, and she's like, you got this.
That's very sweet that she would be, thoughtful of that and mindful that you're in this very special moment, and that she come out and kind of little, pinch for good luck. That's very kind.
And we didn't think, like, after the last time, like, it was right before, I think 2019, we did Newport. We headlined the Secret Set on Saturday night, and nobody knew. It's like, not only did we have, like, Maggie Rogers and Sheryl Crow and Linda Perry come out, it was like,
no kidding. Wow.
And then the biggest secret of all, at the end of the night, Dolly Parton came out. Nobody knew that.
Stop it. Jesus shit. That is, God damn. Bringing out, that's the big guns right there, buddy. That's like, that's almost like not playing fair. I mean, let alone Linda Perry, one of the most successful female writers of the currently, all the Sheryl Crow, it just goes, all goes without saying. And then bring out Dolly Parton. Jesus.
Bring out Dolly Parton. I mean, besides, what do you got? You got Dolly Parton and McCartney? And I mean, like,
wow.
Is that special. It right there?
Really, really special. No, you're not wrong. That's literally one of the most professional, one of the best female writers in the history of music. I mean, literally, just by the numbers, just by records sold. Other people covering her work. Whitney Houston, we all know the work. It's Dollywood. That is extraordinary stuff. These are the things that you're going to tell your kids about. I gotta ask you, when you're out on tour, I know you've been and you have seen and you have done. What do you like to do on your free time? How do you pass the time when you got a day off?
I like a good meal. That
food.
it wasn't a thing like when I was younger. Like I loved theme parks, so I was always like, oh, I'll go here or there, and I'll still do that. But now that I have a 7-year-old and my wife, I feel guilty going to do that without them, so I don't do that now.
That's fair.
I like a good meal, but most of the time I want to rest when I'm out on tour. The cool thing is with Brandi, I call it West Coast weekend warriors. So we really don't go out on like buses and stuff anymore. Like I'll head out tomorrow, we'll do Minneapolis, and then we'll do 2 shows in Bayfield, Wisconsin.
Oh, cool.
And then we can go home.
Yeah, very
and
doable.
We'll fly out and do Wisconsin, we'll do Milwaukee, and then we'll do Chicago, and then we'll come home. So
that's a very civil, very doable, very family-friendly regimen.
It's super family-friendly. That's the nice part about working with Brandi, Tim, and Phil. All of our kids are the same age. We're all the same age. We all, our families are massive. Sometimes I don't put my own family first, but I'm one of those people when I put blinders on into like a mixer gear. I mean, I can sit down here for hours and work on something to just try to get it just 1% better. But
sure.
Yeah, that's the good part. When I got hired, and I mean, like my son will go out. Brandi only lives about 160 miles from here, so I'm always doing stuff at her place, whether it's tracking vocals in the studio or taking care of things up on the compound, as they call it. Harrison will go up with me, or or I'll bring him to shows, and everybody's kids are backstage, and
he's got his own muffs.
What's that?
Oh no, you're mixing at 92 or 95, so he doesn't. I was saying, does he have his own muffs?
He's got muffs. He does like muffs. The funniest thing is, he'll say to me, he'll say, "Dad, you're not gonna make me like concerts."
What the hell? What is that?
Right now.
Okay, sure. I don't know. We're different. Yeah, different times for us. Okay, I guess that's a thing. I have this funny feeling you're gonna turn him on that one. Over time, that he will be able to understand the magic that is happening there. That the what it takes to bring all those pieces and parts and things together, and when it really happens well, and the artist is firing, and you're doing your job right, and the LD is bringing it, and and then that group energy. That there was one thing when people were worried, kind of on the last note here, when we all went away, when our work went away. And we started this up in the first week or two, and a bunch of my friends did. Pooch started up a thing. Chris Leonard started a thing. You've done it.
We did our own. I got a call from management going, "What do you know about streaming?" I go, "Those are those kids who show up 5 minutes before the band works on stage and goes, 'Hey, I need a feed for the live stream.'" And I'm like, "What's that?"
Yeah.
The part was when I was a kid in the winter, the sound company would farm us out to a local PBS station, so I had a little bit of television experience.
A little broadcast.
So the management called up, they're like, "Hey, let's put a live stream together," and I went, okay. And so I got a pile of video gear over here, and there was kind of like there was our production assistant Kelly and I, and then Brandi's wife, and then all of a sudden it was the wives and the kids and everybody, and we were all up there at the compound, and I'm video switching and mixing audio, and we did really great with it. It was a lot of fun, and we still do them every once in a while. It's a lot of fun.
It was been a really great opportunity to do something creative and to take advantage of the fact that we have all this gear and all this talent and some interesting friends, bring them together, share stories. That's been really an amazing part of it. But one thing I kept saying for people that would worry, I've got those roadie groups, and I keep the finger on a pulse of a lot of our friends and a lot of people that do what we do. And you could see some dips and peaks and valleys in the depression and the certain the way people were carrying it. And I just kept reminding them, don't worry, we'll be back. We've had little moments before, little hostage scares, 9/11, whatever. But we'll be back, because there's one thing you can't replace: that live thing. That live feeling, that bringing people together, that band hitting on all fours, the guy behind the front of the house putting his foot on the gas, the lights going. No, your boy, your kid is your kid. He's got his blood, your blood, and he will come around because that's a very special thing. I got to ask you, as it relates to young people, we've got a lot of them coming up in this game now. When I came up, it was you had to be kind of cool, you had to be kind of strong and tough, and you had to love music and be willing to work some crazy hours and do some long stuff. Now there's a lot of young, very smart. The people that are coming into the game are different. They're, for the lack of better words, they're kind of a little more nerdy, a little more ones and zeros, digital, and it can be parlayed into a really good thing for us. But with old dudes like myself and maybe you a little bit, what kind of advice would you give them to come and be in the game and be successful from your experience?
Well, I completely respect and I'm in awe of some of the people. I mean, like, I didn't think I was going to need math and physics as much as I use it every day. Yeah. And also at the same time, like, I watch, it's like I'm good on a digital console. I still come from this school, right? That's where I started. I started from like proprietary boxes, analog stuff, and just making it work.
By the way, I've been admiring your little playground there.
Just like, when I got a job, they're like, oh, it's 1.2.1. And I'm just like, what? Why do I got to know this? And, I still like tell young people, like, you got to kind of have a healthy balance of the nerdy technical thing, but you also got to have the artistic thing. It's great that you understand like mic pre, EQ, insert, whatever,
right,
all that.
Sure.
But do you know how to make that bass drum and that bass guitar sit together and be musical?
That's right.
Or do you know how to,
yes,
you gotta have that artistic thing, and it just can't be by the numbers. Stop looking at the screen.
That's right.
Yeah. Smart looks perfect right now, but how does it sound?
Thank you.
Because I mean, I use it every day. It's a tool, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Like, but at the same time, it'll tell me, okay, dip the EQ here, and then I listen to it and I go, well, it's got no life to it.
It's a suggestion. It is a suggestion and a jumping off point. That's it. That's it. The room, what's the air doing? What's come on, all the variables. That's just one of them. Sure, it's a nice little variable, and I love me some, Sam Berghoff. It's a wonderful piece of technology. It is a jumping off place. And in some ways, don't forget, it's kind of a suggestion. Your ear, you got to trust the ear. It's not always, it's not the ear, it's the ear, baby. So, this is some old school, old man shit, it can't lose the artistry part of our game, making pretty sounds.
I've seen people, SSL or Digico or Avid or even the Ravages.
Sure.
How would you do on this? All right. How would you do on an XL3?
I'd fucking kill on that. Like, but I know what you mean. That thing I could dance all over that son bitch. That's a happy place right there.
As a front of house console, how do you bust things? Because it's not like group one, it's, oh wow, you actually have to dial in the groups, and stuff like that. It's an amazing monitor console, right? But I mean, I use it down here to mix live releases for the band. They're like, hey, we need a YouTube mix or blah, blah, blah. And I mean, I could punt on it real quick.
Sure.
I just changed platforms. I own the third profile. It's like one of the first profiles made.
No shit.
Right. I have it still, and I'm not parting with it, but I just moved to the new platform and I'm digging on it completely. But there's a whole new set of things with it. Now it's like, but these kids understand things like more so it's like, latency. That's a big term right now. And plugins. It's like, stick 9,000 plugins on it, but does it sound good at the end of the day?
Yeah.
It can, because you take guys. I mean, like, the perfect example is you take like Scoville, who's the ultimate technician and artistic mixer at the same time.
Yes, he in fact is. Yes,
he is. He just knows how to balance the left brain and the right brain.
He's extraordinary. Yeah. He loves the
Robert,
challenge of it. He's thriving in the challenge of the stadiums and what that brings to him. That guy will sit on and noodle on that. He's extraordinary. Yeah. I'm sorry.
And I thank him because he was the one that helped me get to the new platform, and he answers my emails and my texts and my calls. Like when I say, "Hey, I'm," but at the same time, look at Dave Natal. Give him a 4K and a graphic EQ, and that's all he wants. And the show sounds incredible every night. I've been fortunate enough, like when I worked at SPAC and even touring early on, like SPAC, every day you got a new teacher. Dave Morgan's here today.
Yeah. It's funny. I was just thinking of Dave Morgan when you were talking. Yeah,
Dave Morgan's here today,
Love
or
him.
Tony Blanc is here today, or Scoville would be there with Petty, or every day Brad Maddox would be there with Rush, and I was the house guy. I just had to plug in the delay system. But cool guys would talk to, or cool people would talk to you and be like, "Hey, check this out," or whatever. But then it was like I got to spend, I think, like a year with. I spent a year with Rob Collins when Robert opened for Clapton for a year, and that was a masterclass every day.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
Him, hey, try this, mate, try this, and all that. And it's like everybody, like Robert, we were like the professional opening act, so it's like we spent months with Santana with Rob Mailman mixing them, and it was like Rob would be like, "Hey, try this," or and everybody. Don't be afraid, and even, I'm 45 now, so I'm technically middle age, and it's weird for me because I'm at the point I'm the youngest guy boss for decades. I'm coming up on doing this. I mean, technically I started doing this professionally at 15. So I've been doing it 30 years now. I got 25 years in IATSE, right?
Yeah,
and I'm the older guy on the bus now. Everybody else is like, I was in high school.
Interesting place to be. Yeah, I'm with you, baby.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to be like, "Hey, what would you do here?" And just like, or even my age, go to the kid. It's like, "Hey, man, I really like that sound. What are you doing with it?" The same time, man, during the pandemic, I went down the rabbit holes. I watched Pooch and Raybolt. I would text Raybolt and be like, "this is awesome." Or like, I watched Scovey's stuff. I watched your show. I took it all in, every podcast. And it's just like, I like different perspectives. And honestly, I took that Florence gig because Jim Warrens was mixing it, who does radio.
That's a good reason to do it. Yeah.
And I just stood over his shoulder and go, "Okay, I do this. I do a lot of the same things." So, it just,
very, very qualifying. Yeah. That's
never think, I mean, like even if you're a younger engineer and you're out there on the road and you could have the biggest gig in the world, I'm selling out every stadium every night.
Muse's guy. That's who comes to mind when you say that. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. MC.
Yeah. He's fucking. Yeah.
But these guys, they're not afraid to go out and ask. Like, there's going to be somebody who's going to know a little bit more. And my other thing I said on another podcast is the other thing I really like. Know your rig inside and out. Like I'm not one of these engineers who like can call up the vendor and go, "Hey, here's my rig, prep it, blah, blah, blah." I want to know where every wire's run. I want to know how it's run. I want to know what the redundancy is. I want to know where the inserts are. I want to know what type of molds. I want to know that. And then the other big thing is learn how to fix things, because I got really, for the 15 years I was with Robert and up until literally like April with Brandi, I owned the entire control package. I owned the monitor console. I owned the front of house console. I owned all the cabling. I owned the distros, the feeder, the risers.
Damn.
I knew where every wire was, and if a 12-pair molt went down,
you were all over it.
I knew how to fix it, or I knew how to repair profiles.
Right.
And actually, coming out of what we went through in 19 and 20, like, we all know that, the profile's at the end of the service life, but there's a lot of them around still. And it's like, I got parts and I know how to fix it. So all of a sudden it was like, drop it off. I can work on it.
We got 35 of them and they are very utilitarian and they serve the purposes they do. Yeah.
funny enough, I helped Winston out in where were we?
Oxbow,
Out in
Napa.
Napa.
Yeah.
What's going on? I'm like, quick, shut it down. Let's reseat this. And he made it through the gig. I'm
That's
like, yeah, hold on. Yeah, I know what it's doing.
That's perfect. Yeah, no, they act up, but they also, you can bring them back to life, and they're eminently work on. They're easy to work on, and the parts are plenty. Although you're right, they went out of their service life. That doesn't mean that we can't make magic happen. We don't. Almost nothing leaves the building here. We can pretty much make it. Bring it back to life, and that's the kind of the Ides of March. And your advice is perfect; it's spot on. Yes, know all your gear, know how to repair it, but I need you to know how to deal with an NL8 if it's taking a dump. If you got a RAM latch that's failing, if I got a CPC, I don't care. I need you to know. I need you to understand. I need you to know how to pin shit. This is just as much a part of it as being the badass on the board to me. And then that's how we train here in this shop. That's kind of the stair step process. If you're going to get to the boards, we want you there. We're going to move you in and out. We'll just shadow you with stuff, but you're going to know all this stuff first. We're going to take you through it. You're going to build L21. You're going to be in the mix. You're going to mess with a distro every so often. You know what I mean?
Know how to tie in power.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Right there. I mean, you don't know how many people have come through the shop and they go, well, what with the electrician's tie-in, right? And you go, no, dude, that's on you,
Yeah. No, I just taught a kid yesterday, a little 20-year-old kid, little guy, and the ground, he's asking me what I'm like, okay, those are cam locks. This is feed. This goes this way. Now we're going to teach you, and you need to know this shit forever. Listen very closely.
Why is it 208?
Yeah.
What's the difference between 208 and 240?
Man, well, that's a whole nother thing. To get them to a place where they're comfortable in the understanding of electricity and how critical it is to the success of their overall career, the longevity of their career. A lot of people, I think they can understand signal path, signal flow, some basic repairs of things to get things back up and running, not necessarily the whys. The electric one is one. Winston happens to be very good. He's kind of a master electrician that way. He's one of the few guys I'll let get in our distros, because it's something that's a little next level. But yeah, you couldn't be more right. Listen, this has been absolutely fascinating. Thank you for, first of all, being patient with us, coming in, sharing your time. I know you're a very busy man. You've done some wonderful things, some really great memories, and thank you sharing your experiences and your stories. The audience and the questions and the comments were that a lot of folks saying things like fantastic story. They were right. Some of those things you've been able to experience with some of these artists is it's the reason we do it, my brother. I'm glad that you're figuring out the family thing and getting that all working and making things good. I love your collection of audio, of your analog gear, and I think I saw your outboard gear earlier before the show started. Yeah. Big fan. We got to hang and have a drink one of these days sometimes, really.
Dude, I want to come down. I want to come down and do this live with you. We'll tell pirate road stories. We'll get into all the good stuff.
Oh my God, back
in the late 90s, early 2000s when it was.
Oh, buddy. I'm from the 80s and yeah, I got stories, brother. You talk about hardcore. I was there in the beginning of that shit. Yeah, So yes, I would love that. You have an open invitation, my brother. Thank you so much for coming on, sharing your stories and your experiences and your time. I hope that things go well for you in the future and that you take good care of yourself.
Yeah, come on out and say hi if you're at a Brandi Carlisle show. I'm out there.
You come and see Brandi Carlisle with this young man. He takes her amazing work and makes it even better. It's a very special thing. Thank you, my friend. Have a great night.
Thank you, brother.
Take care.
Yeah.
All right, guys, thanks for bearing with us in this show. It's been a little kooky, but man, what a great guest. We had my good, wonderful, dear Kyle Thomas is back. That makes me very happy. I did mention earlier in the beginning of the show, next week we have a very special show for you. It's the wonderful and talented Lauren White. Lauren is really a talented mix engineer. He's got a lane just locked down, largely known for what he does with Lionel Richie. He came in, he was in town doing some stuff with us a couple weeks back. My wife was here, and we decided to throw together a quick show. We put it in the can, so we're going to air that one next week. My wonderful girl, Jackie Canterbury, is going to be my co-host. It was a really wonderful show. I think you guys should check it out. We're doing it next Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on all the different platforms. If you like it, subscribe to it. We'd appreciate it. Be well, behave, be good. You know what to do. We'll see you next week. Good night. send me back to Chai